In this video, I'm going to make one of these cap shooting contraptions, and I'll build it for my plans without using any fancy tools, but I'll slightly modify it to actually shoot some of these juice bottle caps. As it is, this thing can already shoot regular water bottle caps even though the track is too wide, or even this odd shaped cap. But these juice bottle caps are just a little bit too wide for the track in here. The material I'm using is just a piece of 2x6 lumber. 2x4 would do too. I need a piece that's 13 millimeters thick for the main track, and then 2 smaller strips for the sides. I'm using the thickness of the cap as a guide for where to set the fence for the thickness of the strips. Last time I made these tracks by cutting out the middle with a dado blade, but for making just one is not really worth it, so I'm going to glue these strips on the edges. These are a little bit lower than the sides on here because I still need the cap to protrude over the top of the rail here. And now I'm cutting a piece 26 millimeters thick. That'll form the handle. There's a notch that gets cut in the front of the handle, and that notch is to prevent the trigger from getting squeezed to the side too much, which will prevent it from breaking off. These little bits are the outriggers for the front for attaching the rubber band to. Now I'm going to trim the edges of this thing flush. And now I'm marking where the slot goes in the middle. It's not worth sticking the template on for that. I'm using a brad point bit on the drill press and drilling a series of overlapping holes to hug up most of the materials, and then drilling in between the holes and then dragging it across the spinning bit to hug out that slot. It's best to drill the holes before cutting out that intricate shape. This block clamped on here prevents tear on the bottom just by supporting the workpiece close to the blade. And a bit of sanding to make it smooth on top. Now marking a hole for a nail. That nail will be what the trigger pivots on. So this trigger tilts in here, but I need to drill out a little bit more for it to get to the right angle for that hook to be able to catch the cap. I'm sanding the trigger a bit more so there won't be any rough edges for the finger. I'm gluing these outriggers on one at a time to make it easier to line things up, and the first one I'm just clamping on with a weight. I'm using the thickness of the cap to mark how high the cap holder needs to be, because this is not entirely according to plans. It's tricky to keep that second outrigger from drifting around on the glue as I clamp it. This is why I'm gluing only one at a time. Imagine how hard it would be with both. I'm adding a chamfer to the edges of the grip, which will make it more comfortable to hold. And then sanding it some more to make it nice and smooth. Now I need to tie the rubber band through this hole, and the best way I figured out to get it in there is to use the tip of a nail and push it through. And now that needs to go in here. This top needs to go on here a little bit further back so that there's room behind this part for the rubber band. I found it's best to twist the rubber band 180 degrees. That makes it hook around the cap a bit better. So I sculpted this one a little bit on the belt sander, but you don't really need to do that.